Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, let's talk about what is going to happen this week, or at least what we can expect this week and all of that good stuff. Keep in mind, Thursday the market is closed and Wednesday we do have FOMC. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, etc., well, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day as the market is trading constantly throughout the day, giving you updates on different time frames, options flow, etc. So check it out. Link is below for just $3 a month for the Tesla tier. $5 includes NVDA, and then $7 includes non-Tesla, non-NVIDIA stocks, which I shared 2 of them actually today. And over the weekend, I did member chart requests on Discord. But jumping into it, Tesla. With a pretty humble day, closing about we'll just say 1.2% on the day, closing just shy of above $329 per share, which, compared to the market is, arguably a bit of an underperformance, of course. But, we are doing something that's pretty important here, right? And what is that pretty important thing? Well, we have arguably broken out of this descending kind of, trend line, if you will, right? We have broken out of this trend line. You can see, right? We've got a rejection here, got a rejection here, like 3 times in a row. And now you can see if I zoom in, and this is what I was sharing with my members this morning, is I can even go down to the post actually really quickly, somewhere around here, right? Yeah, Tesla retesting the breakout on the gap up, but do not want to see it close under 323-ish, or that is a red flag, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about throughout the day. But yeah, so, it's retesting that, the breakout, which is good, right? This is a good sign. It's a good development. Now, obviously, there's more work to be done, but this is a first step, right? This is the first step. All the EMAs are bullish, and the stochastic is on the verge of getting into, or at least I should say, above 60, which would be another beautiful, kind of check mark, if you will, to add to the bullish potential sentiment. We're not there yet, though, but it's very, very close. Now, obviously, there's a few things that need to be done for Tesla to actually truly get, at least even more short-term bullish, I guess. And like I said, there's caveats, right? There's caveats, which I'll go over all the caveats here. But if we do finally get above this kind of, 333 to as high as 335, that kind of $2-ish kind of wall, if you will, right? We got rejected 4 candles in a row now, actually. But notice how each time we reject, we're kind of like, arguably are looking to make higher lows, which is a good sign, right? So I do think that there is potential, and I actually do think there are some nice setups here for Tesla that, might break it. You can also argue that this is a bit of a bullish inverted head and shoulders pattern, setting up with a neckline, of course, pretty much being that 333 to 335-ish wall as well. So again, it's pretty simple. Tesla, at least on the 1 hour time frame, needs to start closing at least 1 hour candles pretty much above 333 at least, like minimum, right? Bare minimum. Ideally 334 or 5, right? That's, obviously even more confidence inspiring, but that's the main thing I'd want to be seeing on Tesla on the 1 hour time frame. And on the daily, pretty much the same thing. You want to see a daily closure pretty much above that 333 to 335-ish zone, right? It's a very, very, very big wall on Tesla stock. Now, obviously, like I said, there's caveats. So I'll finish off the bullish stuff and then we'll go over the more, concerning things and the more bearish things. So again, broke out of this trend line. Stochastic is pretty much on the verge of getting above 60. So we have a lot of key factors, and the exponential moving averages are all aligned bullishly, right? In other words, all I really care about are the 2 lines above, the green and the red line. Are they above the white line, the 50, right? As long as they're above it, I overall lean bullish, right? I lean in a more bullish tone, at least until proven otherwise, right? And especially if the stochastic gets above 60, it adds fuel to the fire from a bullish perspective, in this case at least. So those are the good signs. Now, if Tesla does proceed higher, my next level, and essentially reclaims that 33335 as shown, my next level of major support, and my target ultimately will be closer to 347 to 350, which is going to be this area here that we got obviously quite a lot of resistance at before, which will be somewhere around here. And this is a pretty important level that I'll talk about very soon in the more bearish scenario for a few reasons. And the final thing is, if Tesla does confirm that this, is an official breakout, which so far is looking pretty decent, especially if it reclaims 333, 335, it's not impossible to assume that Tesla will make a fresh higher high all the way up to the opposite end of this rising channel, right? Because technically speaking, we are in this little, rising channel, right? We've been sort of bouncing, zigzagging. So, until proven otherwise, it's safe to assume, at least for now, I might have a sneeze coming up, for now, that we go up excuse me, to the opposite end of this rising channel, right? Because again, while you're within a rising channel, naturally, you assume you continue rising, right? Until proven otherwise, which eventually we will fall out of it. It's just a matter of when, not if, but it's so far clearly not right now. It could be, but it's not. And there's nothing really suggesting it yet. Could be, which I'll talk about more in the bearish section, but not. So in other words, with this breakout, this is a really nice looking situation that Tesla is developing. Just needs to clear this, wall over here. Yeah, I mean, closer to like $400 per share sometime, even in July, honestly. Not impossible, not the most impossible thing in the entire world. We could get a pretty nice squeeze to the opposite end of the spectrum here. This actually has a very similar look to this right here, right? You can argue the fact that it's a very similar situation like this right here and this right here, right? Nice move as well, nice move up. Nice move up, huge selling pressure, broke out of the trend line just today. And then of course, a couple of days later, it ended up obviously getting a pretty nice move to the upside. So, question is it looks similar in a sense. So those are the bullish perspectives. Let's talk about the bearish perspectives. Because like I said, yeah, despite things looking, there is potential, right? There absolutely is a bullish potential here, no question about it. Unfortunately, Tesla's in a bit of a delicate spot regardless. And it's not just so only bullish. There's absolutely some, potential issues or caveats to consider, if you will. So let's talk about the bearish perspective. What are the bearish perspectives? Well, number one, the MACD is still across to the bearish side, despite this, little move to the upside, etc. And even these moves to the upside right here that we experienced in the last week or so, the MACD is still bearish. I absolutely would love to see this cross back to being bullish. And the reason this is a concern is because, well, last time it crossed bullish was all the way over here. And then Tesla actually sold off a decent amount, but the MACD maintained bullish that entire time, which ended up being correct. And then, of course, ended up going decently higher. The question, or I guess the risk, is the fact that what if we're doing the exact opposite, right? What if we're doing this, but opposite, which could mean we still go a little bit higher, such as my 350 level, which I'll talk about why that level is so important and why that could be a problem. And then we would get a pretty substantial rejection. That is a real possibility. But if we go up to 350 and the MACD still maintains its bearish outlook like this, then there absolutely becomes a risk that this will just be essentially the opposite of what was happening right here on the left that you can see on your screen, with the MACD as well, right? The exact opposite situation. That becomes a risk. That absolutely becomes a risk. So that's something I'll be watching for closely. But the other thing that's, concerning is, well, number two is the fact that, well, this obviously, being a rising channel, but it also could be just a very, very large bear flag, right? If I go to the weekly, for instance, take the Fibonacci from all the way up here to all the way down here, so far we have been getting rejections at the 353 level, but the 618 Fibonacci, which is honestly not a level I would be too shocked to see if we continue following that rising channel and that bullish perspective, is sitting closer to about 385 to it's pretty close to $400 per share, which is, again, if we follow up the rising channel, that would run us up right into that 618 Fibonacci on the weekly time frame, essentially, right? Which, again, like I said before, this still has dead cat elements to it. Again, dead cat doesn't mean it can't go higher. We absolutely can still go higher. We can still get closer to 400, but that still could be a dead cat. Why? Because the sell-off down here was just that extensive, right? You have to remember, right? Dead cats are relative to the sell-off, right? If the sell-off is substantial and very aggressive like it was here, the dead cat will naturally be, in proportion to that sell-off, right? So if it's a small sell-off, the dead cat will be small. If it's a huge sell-off, the dead cat will be huge, right? It's all about, taking those two factors into consideration. So just keep that in mind. That is a possibility. And the final thing is on the daily, and why I kept talking about the kind of 347 to 350 level, when why it's important is because, well, like I said before in previous videos, that we were making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher high, potentially higher low, and then we set a lower high, and now we're setting lower lows. So what does Tesla really need to break for me to get really convinced that, yeah, we're probably going up closer to the $400 per share into that weekly Fibonacci, right? That would be this right here. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. So take the Fibonacci from up here, take the Fibonacci all the way down here. And honestly, yeah, clearing about 347 to about 350-ish. Again, my fibs aren't drawn to perfection. It's more like this. Something like this, right? This green fib right here, very, very crucial. Again, if we clear the 618 fib, which is, again, pretty much around the 333-ish area, the target is to the next fib, the 786 to the 826 Fibonacci's, which is anywhere between 347 to about 351 roughly, right? That kind of $4-ish range, which also happens to, coincidentally enough, line up with this resistance point right here that we've had before. So it's a pretty nice coincidence, in my opinion, right? So, we absolutely could still rally back up to about closer to 350 itself. That is completely in the cards. In fact, I actually wouldn't be surprised if we do, to be completely honest with you. But again, if we rally back to these fibs, which is still another potential dead cat targets, because the sell-off was that aggressive, even on the shorter time frame with the Elon Trump kind of squabble, if you will. But if we rally all the way up here and the fib and the MACD maintains its bearish outlook, that is a bit of a concern, right? That is a bit of a concern that all it's going to do is just simply rally up to here, and then it will get a substantial rejection. it's just not something you can ignore. Whether or not it'll actually happen, nobody knows, right? I can't tell the future. I can't look into the future. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. But it's worth keeping this potential scenario in mind that this is a possibility, right? This is a possibility because we made a fresh lower low. We did break structure. You know, you don't just usually walk away unscathed from these kind of very aggressive structure breaks. Despite the bounce being very aggressive, it still caused damage to the technical structure of the chart, at least here on the daily time frame. So which is why, to me, you know, for me to get more confidence, the fact that maybe this is just not a dead cat, is a break of this high right here. This high right over here that we set pretty much arguably right before the substantial drop started, 355. If we clear 355, then this is substantially reduce the possibility that this is just nothing more than a dead cat bounce. So again, it's still a ways away from here, right? And it kind of sucks to think that we'll have to wait all the way up to here to just have an idea that it's not a dead cat. That kind of sucks, but I mean, sometimes that's just how it is, right? It is what it is. But the point is the fact that if we do end up doing something like this, then any pullback should be more bullish as opposed to this. But if we don't clear it, then, you know, there's a good chance that we at the very least come down for equal lows, if not even fresh lower lows. So again, there's a lot of caveats here. So it's very important to understand both perspectives, at least in my opinion, for Tesla stock as to what can potentially happen next. But as of right now, my daily perspective does lean bullish. I do lean bullish because of the breakout. Exponential moving averages are all cross bullish. And of course, this is on the verge of entering the green area and above 60 on the stochastic, right? So there's a lot of things that are leaning to me at least bullish. At the very least, in my opinion, you know, a break of 333 roughly should give us 350. But that's where we're going to start looking at it a little more closely in the sense of, you know, now it's really do or die, right? So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. But options flow on Tesla stock, taking a quick look, nice bullish flow towards the end of the day. So again, you know, I do think that there's a higher chance than not that, you know, short term, especially for the next, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks or something like that, I do still lean bullish. I do still think that, you know, 347, 350, yeah, that's a possibility. It's an absolutely real possibility, especially if we clear 333. But that's where we start getting a lot more interesting. So anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. See you tomorrow. Peace.